Let's go to Dave Sharma, Liberal Senator for New South Wales, joining us live from the Sydney CBD. Good to speak to you, Dave. That'll be encouraging news for you, but I don't imagine you'll be buying into the polling debate too fulsomely.
Well, you never want to count your chickens until they're hatched, Chris. And as many often say, the only poll that matters is that on election day. But look, certainly as I go around the country, or the state rather, in New South Wales, I've been with a couple of our candidates in key seats over the last week. There's a lot of frustration with the Albanese government. There's a lot of frustration that they're not dealing with fundamental challenges, whether it's cost of living, personal security, anti-Semitism on our streets. And I think, you can feel that that's palpable.
Now, when it comes to cost of living, I think energy is right up there because it plays into the cost of everything else and also fuels inflation. And that's something Donald Trump's been talking about since resuming the presidency. Here he is in his inauguration speech last week.
The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, now, Dave, you understand the political situation in the US better than most. You've worked in Washington for the Australian Embassy. Of course, the issues don't directly translate to Australia, but this one in particular, perhaps along with the one flag issue, these are obvious issues where your narrative is enmeshed with what Donald Trump is doing in the US. Their energy prices are a lot cheaper than ours, yet he says they're too high, and the way to reduce them is to generate more electricity through gas primarily, but also nuclear.
Well, I think, around the world, people have discovered that the energy transition, promised by the clean energy activists has not been all the smooth sailing that we'd been told. I mean, we've seen, much higher prices in Australia, concerns about reliability, massive costs in the building of transmission infrastructure, huge environmental concerns about where some of these solar and wind onshore and offshore are being built. And I think that's why we are proposing as a coalition, more gas in the energy mix, nuclear power in the energy mix as well. Yes, we'll continue with renewable energy, where it makes commercial and environmental sense. It should be part of the energy mix, but we need to have, multiple different assets in our energy portfolio, helping to keep the lights on, the grid stable and prices low.
Now, you've been prominent in this country in the debate about anti-Semitism and about Australia's position, our diplomatic position on the Middle East. I mean, I've been highly critical of Labor. They've been so pathetic. They've effectively abandoned Israel over this past year or so. Yet we get this from the Attorney General, Mark Dreyfus.
It's been grotesque, I use that word again, to see the rise in anti-Semitism since October the 7th, but it has been equally grotesque to see attempts being made to politicise either commemoration of the Holocaust or combating anti-Semitism. We need to get politics out of this.
I've got to get your reaction to that, Dave Sharma.
I mean, if Mark Dreyfus, Anthony Albanese, Penny Wong and the senior Labor ministers were doing their job, were combating anti-Semitism, had been on the front foot, had not been morally equivocating about this, had not been trying to create a false equivalence the whole time, then there wouldn't be much political debate about this. I think we'd be united. But while we've been critical, and not just us, the Jewish community, religious leaders, Catholic leaders, Christian leaders, the Hindu community have all been highly critical of this government's handling of anti-Semitism because they've neglected, ignored, sought to diminish and discount the problem throughout from the very beginning. And now we are dealing with something of, epidemic proportions in Australia, the likes of which we've never seen before in our history, because this government has failed at their job. And to say that somehow they should be immune from criticism for failing to do their job properly, I think is a complete misunderstanding of our Westminster domestic political system.